What if I told you Lil' Kim tried to warn the world about Diddy and Biggie decades ago, but no one listened? And now, with shocking new claims and hidden truths finally surfacing, everything we thought we knew about hip-hop's biggest tragedy might be a lie. It's fascinating to look back and realize that Lil' Kim tried to sound the alarm about Diddy long before most people were ready to hear it. She had raised concerns not only about him, but about Biggie as well, only to be brushed off and even ridiculed at the time. For years, the few voices who did step forward, like Gene Deal and Jaguar Wright, were largely written off as exaggerating or chasing attention. Now, however, more well-known figures in the industry are beginning to share their own experiences, lending weight to what was once dismissed.
Told her he was going to get Biggie. She knew it was going to happen. She was purposefully not by her husband's side that night. It happened, and she was told she had to lie about it. And guess what? That lie held up until that boy turned 18 and he started having ideas of what he wanted to do, what he inherited, because the paperwork was set up for Faith to not be able to receive $1 from Biggie's estate unless it was for little Christopher. And she only had one child with Christopher. The other children who required taking care of and feeding and all of that, all of them couldn't be fed off of Christopher Wallace's money. They weren't his kids. See how that works?
Right.
Gene Deal went so far as to allege that Diddy intentionally brought Biggie to Los Angeles, fully aware it would put him in harm's way. In Gene's view, this wasn't just a careless decision or poor judgment. It was a deliberate move. He suggested that Diddy knew the tensions between the East and West Coast scenes were at a boiling point, and bringing Biggie into the heart of it was like walking him straight into danger. According to Gene, Biggie himself didn't even want to be in LA at the time. He was tired, cautious, and increasingly uneasy about the environment. Yet, Diddy pushed the trip forward, framing it as business, appearances, and promotion. For critics, this has always raised troubling questions. Was Diddy prioritizing fame and money over Biggie's safety? Or, as some allege, was there something far more calculated at play?
Say Biggie was asking for him coming to LA so soon after Tupac got killed, and him getting on the radio rapping Long Kiss Goodnight.
Man, you would get 100 people in the room, and out of the 100 people, probably 3 would say it was all right for Big to be in LA. 97% of those people would say he had no business in LA at that time. We all knew that. Why would Puff rent studio time? Come on, man, look. You gotta look at what people do, man. You know Pac just got killed. It ain't no kind of business Big was doing. Big couldn't even walk, he couldn't run. They was pushing him around in a wheelchair, brother. Why the hell would you rent studio time in LA for him to finish your album when in fact you got your own studio, Daddy's house? Let's keep it a buck. Let's stop this bullshit, man. Let's stop doing these interviews, man, about this shit. Cause people ain't getting it. He did not want the beef with the Crips. Puff ain't want the beef with the Dog Pound, Snoop them or whatever. Big started that beef. You understand what I'm saying? Puff ain't want none of that beef. So what I'm gonna do is, y'all want the sheep? I'm gonna put them out the pasture. Catch them if you can. If you the wolf, if you got that wolf in you, catch him if you can. Why in the hell you would put your man in a situation by sending him to Cali to work on your album? When you know, not his Nimitz, but your Nimitz was just by
The same pattern played out with Lil' Kim. Her warnings were brushed aside, her voice overlooked. At the time, People dismissed her concerns as jealousy, bitterness, or even drama meant to grab headlines. She wasn't taken seriously, even though she was one of the few who had seen Diddy and Biggie up close, both personally and professionally. For years, her perspective was lost in the noise, buried under the industry's tendency to protect powerful figures and ignore women who dared to challenge them. But now, with so much information surfacing and more insiders daring to speak out, people are finally circling back to Kim's words. Suddenly, those warnings that once drew laughter are being re-examined with a weight they never carried before. Listeners are asking themselves, was Lil' Kim telling the truth all along, and was the world simply unwilling to hear her?
How the situation is going down, especially what Puffy is doing. Yeah, he's darn right about that. Puffy looks crazy right now. You know what I mean? That's why I said in my Baltimore show, Puffy, you should be ashamed of yourself. Because at the end of the day, if you're going to rock with anybody that hard, you should be rocking with me that hard.
This is 50.com.
If you're going to rock with anybody that hard, you know what I mean? And you could never make another Big and Kim. That's not going to happen. It's never going to happen. Like, what? You kidding me? It's never going to happen. Like, I don't get it. But, you know, at the end of the day, like, Puffy is Puffy. He will, I mean, you know, it's all about what he can do, what he can get from people. That's it. Puffy it's all about himself a lot of times, because he never really did nothing for me.
Back in the 90s, Kim and Diddy formed a bond after she joined Junior MAFI, the group assembled by the notorious B.I.G. It was Biggie himself who first introduced her to Diddy. Despite being both her friend and her manager, Diddy never brought her onto his label, Bad Boy Records. His reasoning was blunt. He didn't see her as star material. In an MTV interview, he even dismissed her potential, claiming she was too pretty to be taken seriously as a rapper, suggesting that women in hip-hop weren't supposed to look like her.
Oh, we met through Biggie.
Yeah, we met through Biggie.
Mm-hmm. And it's funny because when I first met him, I thought he didn't like me because every time he saw me, he'd lick his tongue at me or he'd make a funny face. But then as the years went by, I saw how much love he had for me. So I love you, Puff. And I'm so happy for you.
Now, let's talk a little bit about you. You hear all the guys screaming. I know the guys have groups. The male stars definitely have groups. Now, you must have. What kind of stuff do guys do when they come to your guys' show?
Wow, they do different things. I remember one time I was going to a show in Atlanta, and this guy came up to me and was like, "Oh, wow, little Kim." And he picked me up and threw me over his shoulder and started running out the airport. I was just really shocked. I wasn't really scared, though. I was just like, oh my God, did you see what he just did?
And what happened to him? Well, no, we don't have to go there.
Even after the massive success of Hardcore, which sold over 1 million copies, Diddy still refused to sign Kim. He couldn't believe a woman in rap could actually move that many records, so he dismissed her achievement outright. But their issues didn't end there. In later recordings, Kim revealed that Diddy had a pattern of mistreating people, always finding cover behind his wealth and influence. She shared that during her most difficult chapter, serving time for perjury between 2005 and 2006, he completely abandoned her. No visits, no letters, not even a phone number to reach him. For someone who once called himself her manager and friend, his silence spoke volumes.
For each other, but like I judge by what happened afterwards. When I was locked up, and here's where Puffy should feel really bad. When I was locked up, Puffy never put a $10 bill, a penny, a quarter in my commissary. He never wrote me a letter. He didn't try to come see me. None of that. I got people like Oprah. She wrote me 3 letters, right? She wrote me 3 letters and sent me 3 of her favorite books, which I love her to this day for that, because those books are so inspiring. And one of them, I'll tell you the name of the books later, but anyway, you know, Tyra Banks writing me. Mark Jacobs wrote me every freaking day. He told me everything that was going on from when he first woke up to the end of the night. What does it take? just to say, let me make sure somebody who was a major part of my family is all right. You know, like when you locked up, the one major thing is that makes you feel like, damn, this person really loved me and is on my side is that when they just take the time out to do one little thing. It's not even the big things that matter, because it ain't the money. I was straight in jail. I had too much money in my commissary. When I came home, they had to send my money back. It wasn't that. But you could have came to see me one time. You could have wrote me one.
As if the neglect weren't already deep enough, Kim learned that while she was behind bars, Diddy had shifted his focus to her rival, Nicki Minaj. When questioned about the move, he dismissed the criticism with ease. Nicki was his artist now, he said, and his working relationship with Kim was in the past, though he insisted he still had love for her. To make matters worse, Nicki would later fire a lyrical shot at Kim on a track with Diddy's own group, Dirty Money, adding insult to injury.
Ever negative said about Kim, you know what I'm saying? I never heard nothing like that. But then when it comes to just being an MC, that's when I gotta stand back. You know what I'm saying? Now, if they want to do things and be MCs, that's their business. I'm not with any negativity. I'm not with no beef. You know what I'm saying? And I love both of them. You know what I'm saying? And at the same time, you know, right now, Nicki Minaj, you know, that's who my artist is. That's who I consult. That's who I do business with. I no longer do business with Kim on that level, but Kim will always have a special place in my heart. And it's like that. Kim is the queen. I mean, read in between the lines what you want it to be. It is what it is. Kim is the queen, and I love Kim. And Nicki's the queen in her own right. You know what I'm saying? And that's exactly the way I feel about it. So don't twist my words. Don't make it no way it is or it ain't. That's what it is. And I think they should be doing records together, as a matter of fact, instead of, you know, doing anything that isn't showing unification. But yo, man, I can't preach to the choir. Everybody grown. I done been through my things, and everybody was like, yo, you went through your things. People got to go through their own things. And right now, it's that dirty money time. I spoke on that, and that's what it is. And it's a positive thing, and that's what it is. Be clear.
It's Hot 97, Funk Flex, Diddy, Dirty Money.
And I will never forget the times I had with Kim. And we can have some more times, because I'm still here. Shout out to little Kim. Shout out to Kim. What's up, Kim? Shout out to Kim.
For real.
And shout out to Nicki. Congratulations on those numbers, Nick. That's what's up.
Kim later opened up about how Diddy may have held her back from some of the biggest opportunities of her career. She recalled being in talks to feature on Sisqó's massive hit, Thong Song, but Diddy advised her to play hard to get. By the time she followed his suggestion, the moment had passed. Kim believes this wasn't just bad advice, but a deliberate move to keep her from shining. And that wasn't the only mischance. According to Kim, none other than Michael Jackson wanted her on one of his albums. Producer Rodney Jerkins confirmed it, telling her that Michael loved the way she rapped slightly behind the beat, calling it sexy. Kim was floored by the compliment and ready to jump at the opportunity. But when the idea was brought to Diddy, who managed her at the time, it quietly disappeared. She was young and unaware of the business politics happening around her, but looking back, she believes Diddy may have sabotaged the collaboration altogether. Kim remembered bumping into Rodney later, only for him to ask why she had turned down the chance to work with Michael. Shocked, she insisted she never would have refused something so monumental. That lingering what if still haunted her, leaving her with the sinking feeling that she'd been kept from her own destiny. Her reflections inevitably circle back to Biggie, too. She often described him as someone who wanted nothing more than to see the people around him succeed. He was ambitious yet warm, a man who only wished for enough fans to make music his life. With time, Kim noticed a shift in him. Life after death showed a more seasoned, business-minded Biggie, one who was aware of the dangers that came with fame. After Tupac's death, he felt a growing sense of paranoia, certain that enemies were circling, whether out of jealousy, rumors, or pure malice. That unease is what made him lean more heavily on security. Biggie's connection to Diddy began in 1992 after Diddy read about him in a magazine and arranged a meeting. By 1993, Biggie was officially part of Bad Boy Entertainment, debuting a year later with Ready to Die, a record that became an instant classic. But just 3 years after his rise, tragedy struck. Biggie was killed in 1997, and speculation has never stopped swirling. Many have whispered that he had plans to part ways with Bad Boy, a move that might not have sat well with Diddy. Gene Deal, among others, has even suggested that this tension could have played a role in his death.
The Hit Factory. You got Daddy's house. You got the place where Tupac was shot at, Quad Studio. There's plenty of places Big could have been. Why the West Coast? Come on, man. And then you got a half retarded nigga like Lil C. Big love Cali. Big wanted his publishing. Big wanted his marketing. He knew he couldn't go nowhere and be who he needed to be without it. So if Puff would have told that nigga go to hell with gasoline draws on, that nigga would have went to hell. All money ain't good money, brother. That's my take on it, man. I don't know if you like it or not.
Faith Evans, Biggie's wife at the time, publicly pushed back against the suspicions surrounding Diddy. When asked about the rumors, she was adamant that there was no way he could have been involved in Biggie's death. In her eyes, the bond between Diddy and Biggie ran deeper than even the connection she shared with her husband. Faith emphasized that simply knowing or working with someone doesn't mean you're plotting against them, and she insisted that if she or Biggie's family had ever believed Diddy played a role, they would have taken legal action years ago. According to her, plenty of people urged them to sue, but they never saw a reason to. Still, her defense didn't silence the doubters. Many fans remained skeptical, convinced Faith was protecting Diddy rather than speaking the full truth. Rumors from that era even suggested that Faith and Diddy's closeness had put a strain on his relationship with Biggie. Adding more fuel, Jaguar Wright later claimed that Diddy deliberately brought Faith into the picture as a way to gain influence over Biggie.
She knew it was going to happen. She was purposefully not by her husband's side that night. It happened, and she was told she had to lie about it. And guess what? That lie held up until that boy turned 18 and he started having ideas of what he wanted to do, what he inherited, because the paperwork was set up for Faith to not be able to receive $1 from Biggie's estate unless it was for little Christopher. It's funny, when you ask Faith how long her and Biggie was together before they got married, the story changes every time. It was 10 days, it was 20 days, it was this days, it was that days. I'm not saying that she didn't develop feelings for him. I'm not saying that she didn't care about the father of her son. I'm saying she was hired for one job. Her being involved with Pac in the midst of all of that. But she didn't know Pac was Pac. I mean, come on, none of this shit makes sense. What really does make sense is that Diddy has had a long career of using to trap niggas into making them do what he wants to do or using them to move them out the way. Struggling artists trying to make their way up, not getting the break that they needed. All of a sudden they stand next to the right guy and then now you know that guy is dead and they're okay for life. Right. You know how many people in the business that happens to? Ask me how much different Faith life, her whole life career look. How does a woman with that much talent end up married to somebody like Stevie J?
According to Biggie's close friend Gene Deal, the rapper once confided in him about a groundbreaking opportunity that could have changed the entire landscape of hip-hop. Gene recalled Biggie pulling out a contract, a document that represented more than just business. It was a vision for independence. The deal, he said, was worth an astonishing $62 million, a figure that was almost unimaginable for a rap artist in the mid-1990s. For Biggie, it wasn't just about the money. It was about building something that truly belonged to him, something that would allow him to shape his legacy on his own terms, free from the grip of those who had profited off him. Biggie was excited when he spoke about it, his voice carrying the energy of a man who finally saw the path to full creative and financial control. He told Gene that this was his chance to get paid, in a way that no one could take away, and to build an empire that would stand separate from Diddy and Bad Boy Records. For years, Biggie had been the cornerstone of Diddy's success. Bad Boy Entertainment thrived off the hits Biggie created, and his influence stretched far beyond just the charts. It was cultural. It was generational. Yet Biggie himself often felt boxed in, aware that as much money as he was making for Diddy, he wasn't receiving the full benefits of his labor. That contract symbolized freedom. Biggie wasn't just thinking of himself. He was thinking bigger. He wanted to create a label that would sign other artists, give them opportunities, and build a foundation for something sustainable. He understood that rap wasn't just music, it was business, and he was ready to step into that role. His dream was to be more than just the greatest rapper alive. He wanted to be an entrepreneur, a mogul, someone who owned his art and expanded his influence beyond the microphone. Gene remembered the way Biggie's face lit up when he talked about it. This wasn't the conversation of a man simply enjoying success. It was the determination of someone ready to level up. The idea of a $62 million deal in the mid-90s was monumental. It showed the confidence that labels and investors had in Biggie's staying power, his ability to not just sell records, but to shape the entire industry. If that deal had gone through, there's little doubt Biggie would have redefined the business side of hip-hop years before other rappers began establishing their own empires. But Gene also hinted that this deal may have created tension. The thought of Biggie branching off, creating something independent, and no longer being tied to Bad Boy meant Diddy stood to lose his most valuable artist. Biggie wasn't just another rapper, he was the foundation of the label. Without him, Bad Boy would not have risen to the same heights. Gene believed that Biggie's plans for independence made some people uncomfortable, particularly those who had benefited most from keeping him within their orbit. What makes the story even more haunting is that Biggie never got the chance to see those dreams materialize. His life was cut short before he could take that next step, leaving fans to wonder what might have been. Had he lived, would he have gone on to become not just the king of New York rap, but a business giant on the scale of Jay-Z or Dr. Dre? Would his empire have rivaled the biggest names in the industry today? Gene's account of that $62 million contract has lingered in hip-hop history as both a revelation and a painful reminder. It's a glimpse of what Biggie saw for himself, a vision of freedom, ownership, and greatness beyond the stage. For Gene, remembering that conversation isn't just about mourning what was lost, but honoring the ambition of a man who was already thinking far ahead of his time. Biggie didn't just want to be remembered as a rapper, he wanted to be remembered as a builder of legacies. Tragically, the world was robbed of seeing that empire rise.
Give me his briefcase and everything like that, like, yo, here, like, me carry this. Say, all right, motherfucker, I got 5 hours, 6 hours on this thing. Let me see what's in the briefcase. And I seen big contract, and it was talking about, well, you get $250,000, for signing. You're going to get another $250,000 if the thing go gold. Then you're going to get this much and you're going to get that much. And then at the end of the contract, I was skimming through it. At the end of the contract said, we're going to discuss about you getting your publishing and your marketing back. Right. So I was asking Big's questions about that because I didn't know what publishing was. I didn't know what marketing was. And Big was showing me a contract because I was saying to Big, Big was like, yo, Gene, I like you. I would take you with me, bruh, but you love that nigga too much. I said, love that too much? What do you mean I love him too much? He said, yeah, you love him too much, bro. I would take you with me. I said, how you gonna take me with you and you broke? He said, I'm broke. I said, yeah, you broke, man. You owe Mike Gadget $30,000 for the system and them drop boxes he put in your truck. And he was like, yo, how you know that? I said, talk and run their mouth, Big. Yo, he said, oh, shit. He said, but I'm about to get this money. So he showed me, I said, you about to get that money? He said, yeah, look at this. It had Charlie Baltimore, Cameron, Little C's, Little Kim, Junior Mafia, Tracy, I don't know, Tracy Murray,
Tracy Lee.
Tracy Lee, and the commission. And I think the contract was for so many years for like 62 million. It comes out to like 62.
And that's where the story takes a darker turn. Gene Deal has long believed that Biggie's death wasn't the random drive-by it was made out to be, but rather a calculated setup.
could tell, man, that you still replay that night over and over in your head, thinking about what you could have did to avoid Biggie from getting killed.
Sometimes I can't get shit out of my mind, but I have good days, bad days. You got to realize when you hear the music, I go into a restaurant and they playing the Biggie music and they got like on the walls of big places I go and I see that. And you was put in a place to try to save this kid's life. And I seen the joy, the pain. I seen all the bull unfold. I saw this kid lose his life. This kid died while I was pulling him out the car. He had died, man. That's why I told my life story in my book. That's why I told what I seen and what I felt that night in the book. And the second one is a tearjerker, and it's crazy because I'm telling all the stories in it. So to answer your question, you have your good days, you got your bad days, bro. You was there when arguably the world's greatest rapper was murdered. I wouldn't put nobody in my shoes because I don't feel like they could handle it. If I didn't have God in my life, I didn't have people praying for me, I don't know if I could handle it.
Yeah, man, I know that gotta be hard, man, seeing all these reenactments of Biggie death and seeing these reenactments and these biopics and documentaries and stuff like that. I know that gotta be hard to see, man.
It just hurt because they lie too much, man. It be a lot of the lies the way they put it together because they listening to these white boys who wasn't even there. How the hell and I don't want to make this racial, but they take these white boys who wasn't even there and want to use the story that they want to tell, which is not the truth. Wasn't no drive-by. Car was standing there at the corner. We talk about this shit all the time, bruh. The stories they tell, it's not.
It's well known that Biggie was a massive source of revenue for Diddy, and some believe that losing him would have been too costly. In fact, there are claims that Biggie ultimately became even more valuable to Diddy in death than in life. Gene Deal has suggested that the tragedy may not have been random at all, that someone from within their own circle could have marked Biggie's SUV that night, signaling exactly which car he was in. To make matters worse, questions have lingered for years. Who thought it was a good idea for Biggie to headline a high-profile party in an SUV boldly branded with life after death stickers across the hubcaps?
Before we left Andre Harrell's house, Puff told me I didn't have to go. Now, I went because I knew that somebody was going to die that night. Somebody was going to get shot. I did everything in my power to stop it from being Puff. And it wasn't Puff. Because that was my principle. The people that was bodyguarding Big didn't do everything in their power to stop it from being big. And that hurts me. Even though it wasn't my principle. Do you understand what I'm saying?
You're right.
Bruh, it hurts. Every time you hear his music, every time you see one of these murals on the walls. Now they got statues. It's gonna hurt until God take me away.
Looking back on that night is still painful for those who were there, a wound that never fully heals no matter how much time passes. One of Biggie's bodyguards remembered it vividly, replaying every moment in his mind like a film he can't stop watching. He recalled that before they even left Andre Harrell's house, Puff turned to him and told him he didn't have to come along. It was almost as if Puff was giving him an out, a chance to walk away from whatever was about to unfold. But the bodyguard couldn't bring himself to stay behind. Something in his gut told him tragedy was on the horizon. He didn't know the details, but he felt the weight of dread pressing down.
So he went anyway.
He made the decision not out of loyalty to the night's festivities, but out of duty. Deep down, he believed someone was going to die before the evening ended. Someone was going to be shot. His mission became simple. Make sure that someone wasn't Puff.
That was the principle he lived by.
Puff was his responsibility, the man he was assigned to protect. He put everything into that goal. And in the end, Puff walked away unharmed. But it wasn't Puff who paid the price. It was Biggie. And that's what haunts him to this day. The knowledge that while he succeeded in guarding one life, another, just as precious, just as valuable, was lost. The thought that the people specifically tasked with keeping Biggie safe didn't fight as hard, didn't put in the same energy or vigilance, gnaws at him endlessly. That hurts me, he admitted years later. Even though Big wasn't my principal, it still eats at me. Every time I hear his voice on a record, every time I walk past a mural painted in his honor, every time I see a statue built to immortalize him, it hurts. And it will hurt until God takes me away. His words carried the pain of a man who witnessed history unfold in blood and shadows, a history he wishes he could rewrite but can never escape. This is where Lil' Kim re-enters the story. Unlike the bodyguard, who openly shared his anguish, Kim remained largely silent in the aftermath. But whispers have always suggested that her silence was not her choice. Rumors claim she knew far more than she let on, about the power plays behind the scenes, about Diddy's moves after Biggie's death, and about secrets that could upend the way people view that era. She was close enough to see the machinery of the industry working in real time, close enough to notice what others missed. Yet, reportedly, Diddy warned her directly to keep quiet. The threat didn't have to be explicit. His wealth, his influence, his ability to shape or destroy careers, that was warning enough. For years, that pressure may explain why Kim stayed on the sidelines, her knowledge locked away. She had lived through it, seen the aftermath, and carried truths that could shake the foundations of hip-hop history. But she didn't speak, at least not fully. She kept moving forward, focused on survival in an industry that rarely protected women, especially those who dared to challenge its most powerful men. Now, decades later, the tide appears to be shifting. Whispers grow louder that Kim is no longer in Diddy's corner, that she has cut whatever ties remained, and that the weight of silence has finally become too heavy to carry. Fans are watching her closely, convinced that if she chooses to open up, the revelations could be explosive. She was there in the 90s, front row to the chaos, witness to the betrayals, confidant to both Biggie and the very circle that surrounded him. Her testimony could unravel decades of speculation and bring clarity to the murky stories that have haunted hip-hop for generations. If Lil' Kim decides to speak, it won't just be about her own struggles or mistreatment. It could expose the inner workings of the empire Diddy built, the decisions that led to Biggie's downfall, and the unseen pressures that silenced those who dared to question him. It could be the moment when speculation finally meets confirmation. The only question that remains is how much longer until the silence breaks. Will she step forward with the truth she has carried all these years? Or will the fear of retaliation keep her quiet? Either way, the world is listening more closely now than ever before. And if she chooses to talk, her words could change the story of the 90s forever.